When the pressure is on and the stakes are high, what separates leaders who freeze from those who rise? Rich LaMonica knows the answer and is sharing it with us today.
Welcome to Rise to Lead, where unique perspectives redefine leadership.
Welcome back to Rise to Lead. Joining us today is Rich LaMonica. And Rich, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us.
Oh, Regina, thank you for inviting me on to your show now. I think it's been a little while since we talked to each other, but it's awesome to see you again.
Yes, and we'll definitely be in touch even after this show. Always,
Definitely.
always a great plan, right? So let me quickly introduce you. Rich LaMonica is an award-winning author, motivational speaker, and leadership expert focused on mindset, grit, and overcoming adversity. He hosts the Misfit Nation podcast, recognized as a top 40 over 40 podcast and 2025 Veteran Podcast of the Year. His books include 13-Step Guide to Success and Out of the Darkness. So let's dive right into today's topic, Rich. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Awesome. Now, can you share a moment with us, Rich, when you faced a situation that felt literally impossible, like Mission Impossible a little bit, right? And how your mindset in that moment surprised even you?
Oh, definitely. That's a great question, and it brings a lot of what I am now and how the Misfit Nation came about all to light. So it was December of 2010, December 31st to be exact. I was the
Mhm.
platoon sergeant in Afghanistan, and we had a great platoon of misfits, of young men and women who signed up to be in the army, and they all came together from different parts of our unit to form one platoon. So it was kind of like the Island of Misfit Toys. Then on December 31st, one of our most humble guys, our funniest guy, a great leader, young leader in our platoon, Sergeant Michael Beckerman, was taken from us and by the enemy. And that was my first soldier I ever lost in combat, and it was my third combat tour. And at that moment, you have a wave of emotion go through you. I mean, it's like a tidal wave that goes through you. You feel it punch you in your chest. Your head swells. You want to yell. You want to scream. You want to do all these crazy things. But then something deep inside me told me to calm down. And way deep inside, I think it came from my upbringing, from my dad. And always think things through before you do stuff. Think what's going to happen if you do something now. So I had to take a calm approach, and my mindset went straight to taking care of the soldiers in my platoon to make sure that they didn't do something that I thought I should do, and to keep them calm so we all can come home in April. And those next 4 months, it proved that my mindset was right. My grit was there to stay through a very tumultuous time and keep that platoon together. That was in 2010 to 11, and we're still friends now and still talk to each other now, and that's how the Misfit Nation came about.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, of course, it's a very touching story. I like to have different perspectives on this podcast, and this is definitely a unique perspective so far. And we always want to talk about every possible thing in within leadership, right? And it's curious to me though how humans become enemies of other humans,
Yes.
right? And of course, as leaders, we want to avoid this situation and to work as much together as we can to come together as humans and not see each other as enemies. And certainly, the people on the ground weren't really the true enemies. And we have, some people controlling the world who we know are our true, well, I don't know what to call them, but if we could just all come together, then we could have such a much more peaceful and world where we could all live together in easier ways and more enjoyable
Yeah,
ways. And
definitely.
yes, but here we are, right? So let's talk about resilience, Rich. I'm I'm really most interested here in the unexpected lessons that came out of what we often call a failure or adversity. I nowadays call it a situation or an experience. I've gone through a few of those and definitely different ones than you, and without downplaying anything, right? But can you tell us about one that stands out to you that gave you one of those unexpected lessons?
Oh, definitely. After having a successful career in the Army for 22 years, I got out in 2015 thinking that, man, I'm just going to roll into another job. Everything's going to be easy because everything I did in the Army taught me what to do. I'd fall into this next job and everything would be perfect. I would maybe take a couple weeks off just to move and get new clothes maybe so I didn't wear the same clothes every day and get into this job. But that didn't happen. It happened for all my buddies. Everyone that got out before me, it happened. They fell into these beautiful jobs. There was a problem. At that point, we'd been in combat for about 15 years, and there was a young workforce of people who retired from the Army filled all those jobs. There was no jobs really there that I was looking at. So I wound up in a brawl for a year. And a lot of those hiccups, a lot of those little setbacks, a lot of those running into the corporate wall, applying for jobs, being told, nah, you're going to want too much money, or no, you don't make you're not what we're looking for. You didn't go to the right school. You didn't do this. But I just kept taking all those lessons. Everything they were teaching me, they were showing me things that maybe I can change. I can tweak me to make me better. How can I be the better candidate? So I enlisted mentors. I reached out to all kinds of mentors through LinkedIn, through eMentor, through veteran networks, and Hire Heroes USA rewrote my resume so it sounded a lot better than when I wrote it. I wrote it the way I thought it should look, and they wrote it the way it actually should look. So then I started seeing that my persistence, my resilience had grown without me even knowing. I can take all those punches, and I just kept pushing forward and kept trying. Every time I got knocked down, I got back up and kept running to the next computer link to say I can get that job. That's the one that's good for me. And I was even applying for jobs that had nothing. I had no clue what they were. I didn't know what to do with them, but I figured let me apply and just see what they'd say to me. And finally, I went to an interview up in Washington, D.C. I drove 11 hours to get there. And I sat there in that interview and I felt great. I prepared the day before. My mentor met me in Washington, D.C. We ate lunch. She went through questions with me. I was totally prepared. I went into there, I did the interview. I felt good, but I also felt that they already hired someone before I got there. I had
Oh,
this
wow.
gut feeling that I wasn't their candidate. I was just a number that they could say, yes, we interviewed a veteran to get him in here and maybe get some whatever tax break. I said, I drove away and I called. I was going through a fellowship program at the time with the Mission Continues, and my fellowship program specialist, Jeremy Bailey, he talked to me. He said, "You didn't want that job." I said, "I did. I drove 11 hours for that job." He said, "No, man, I'm going to send you a link. You want this job." So I took that link. I filled out the application begrudgingly, and within 2 months, and it was exactly 365 days from the day I retired, I started working in the desk next to him as a fellowship program specialist. So my resilience grew, and I knew my confidence was back. I had it the whole time. I was just looking the wrong way.
Well, yeah, and he probably looked at you driving all the way to this job, right? And
Yeah.
really showing your commitment. And he wanted somebody who would be able to show that commitment, I guess.
Yeah, he always seen it in me. He would always say
Mhm.
things to me when he was mentoring me, and I would, yeah, whatever, man, I got you, man. And usually, just like as when you're a kid and your parents are telling you stuff, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
whatever, dad, yeah, mom, thanks, awesome, awesome. And you don't think any of that's gonna work until maybe you have a child and you're thinking of saying, oh man, my dad said the same thing to me, but he was saying all these things and it wasn't resonating until it actually mattered, and it worked.
Right. Yeah, so this is a great story. Yeah, very inspiring. Thanks for sharing that.
No
So,
problem.
yeah, Rich. So most of us haven't been in combat, and I certainly don't wish it on to
No.
anybody. I certainly wish, wish, as I said before, we didn't have this in the world anymore in the first place, right? But we do all face high pressure moments of sorts. But what's one principle that you have used in extreme situations, whatever those were, that applies to anyone juggling a tough career or a life challenge or whatever our challenges are?
That's a great question, and And one that you can answer in many ways in just taking the leadership I learned from the military and the leadership I learned from growing up. I learned that you got to think things through, and there's always a third order effect of everything that you do in life. So if I decided today to wake up and walk through a door, there something on the other side of that door has to move. There's energy on the other side of that door that has to move in order for me to go. When I made decisions, whether it was in combat or now in my current career, everything I do today has a lasting effect to something maybe 3 days from now. It affects something beyond me, beyond the small piece I think I'm doing. It affects something three orders down. It's kind of like playing chess, but oh, you're always playing. And your life is like one giant chess game where every move you make makes the move 3 days from now even more important. And then that move stacks up. And I know when you were on the show, we always say stacking victories on the Misfit Nation. And we talked earlier about setbacks. You're going to have setbacks in life. You're going to have setbacks in leadership. You got to learn from them. Don't let them keep you down. And just keep driving forward and stack those little victories every day that make a difference, that make you succeed at everything you do. And that's how I go about everything now. I think about what can go right. I know things are going to go wrong. I know every day something's going to go wrong. Maybe I won't be able to walk right today because I'm getting older. Things hurt a little more. And I have to do a little more effort, stretch in the morning, and get that kind of yoga mindset to go through, get through the day. But I still push forward. I still put one foot in front of the other to get things done. And that's what I try to push through people that I mentor, I coach, or I speak to. Hey, you're gonna have those bad moments in a day. Don't let that bad moment ruin your day.
Right. You know what question I love for those moments too, Rich? What's right about this that I'm not getting right now?
Yes. What am I not doing the best way right now to make this right? Yes.
Yes, but also sometimes judgment doesn't help us.
Right.
Sometimes it's really nothing that we could consciously do in that moment. We always have choices. I talk a lot about choices. I just recorded another choice video for my YouTube right now. However, sometimes it's not up to us to change a certain situation right away, right? For example, or something happens, we're confronted with a situation. Yes, it depends on what we do with it, how it'll work out for us emotion wise and feeling wise, and in the end also result wise. However, there are places where we just, a question can open up possibilities. And that's why I love those questions. What's right about this that I'm not getting right now gives me the opportunity to also understand that there might be a benefit to the situation that I'm not seeing yet.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people get stuck there and they take that judgment like you were just talking about and they let that just weigh heavy on them. And the worst part is we're our worst judges. As we wake up and look
Yep.
in the mirror in the morning, we judge ourselves from the moment we look at ourselves. And then if there's outside influence, that just makes that judgment harder on ourselves. If we can get through that, get over ourselves and stop judging ourselves for every little thing we do and find out, like you said, find out what's right about this. And then
Mhm.
make it better, make it shine, make the widget better, make the building better, make the operation better. Do everything you can to make that thing better just by knowing what is right about it.
Right. And building on what you just said, Rich, I love this because we could also ask what's right about me. So often we ask what's wrong about me.
Yes.
Even internally, even if we don't speak it out loud, but we think that thought sometimes 1,000 times a day. What's wrong with me? What's wrong about me? So why not ask what's right about me when we start to judge ourselves? Because judgment doesn't really help us at all. It is rather counterproductive. What really helps us is awareness. Would you agree?
Oh yes, 100%. Once you're aware of you and aware of things around you, you can't go wrong because you know what right looks like at that point. You know what you have to do to maintain rightness and to make things go right. You have to make sure you have that right mindset, the proper headspace and timing. I like to call it to make sure everything up here is working to make this go forward, and you can't
Mhm.
go wrong at that moment.
Yeah. So mind and heart. Yeah, I've talked about this a lot myself. It's the collaboration between the two that makes it great. So how do the lessons you learned in high stakes environment translate into everyday leadership, even for someone who's never been in situations like you? So can you give us some examples?
Just say corporate America. You got
Hmm.
a project due. You were given a project, say 6 months ago, and like many people, we procrastinate. And now you're 2 weeks from that deadline, and you really haven't put a lot into it. And now you put yourself into this high pressure mode. You have to get this task done, or maybe you're going to lose a contract, or maybe you're going to lose a client. Now you have to you put yourself behind the eight ball per se, and you have to push yourself forward. It's no different from anything, just that right now no one's attacking you. You just have to put all the effort into you and your team to get that momentum going again. Stop procrastinating and get over the little things that made you say I can wait on this or I don't want to start this. Now you have to. Now you're at a critical point with 2 weeks left, 14 days. The clock's ticking. You're hearing the clock tick now. Even if you have a digital clock, you're hearing tick, 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 tick. I have to get to that finish line. I have to present this. What do I do next? You can not be a leader and you can fall back and say, Ned, we'll just go away. We'll find another client. Or you can step up and step forward and lead you and your team to make sure you get that product out and show the client that you are a worthy person to be hired to do that job and lead your team to victory. Don't let little things get you down. Don't procrastinate till it's 2 weeks out. And I know we're all guilty of procrastination. We all do it, and it's just human nature. Some people are a little better at procrastinating and can do things on the fly. Some people need that time, that little wailing time, maybe a month out to do things. Others can rush and do it, but you have to make sure you're going to do it. Do not just keep putting it off until the wall becomes so high you can't get over it. Think critically about everything that has to be done and go through different avenues of approach for that project so you have enough time to talk to your team and see which way is the best way for your team to get it done and then make it happen.
Right. And I love that you said lead yourself and your team, and not just lead your team.
Yes.
That's a very important detail because it starts with self.
A
So
lot of
let's
people
talk
forget
about,
that.
sorry, go ahead.
A lot of people forget to lead themselves also.
Right. And that's what it all builds on.
Yes.
How would you even lead others if you cannot lead yourself, right? So, what about you sharing with us one habit or routine that you use that anyone could adopt to get through challenging times?
I think we kind of hit this earlier with looking at stacking victories and finding the right.
Mhm.
So what I do every day is find out what's going right every day and
Mhm.
see what I'm doing to make those things go right can also make the things that maybe I'm having a hiccup in go right. Maybe I'm not putting enough effort into that. Maybe I'm not energy's going over there. Maybe I need to spread the energy out. And the same thing with a team. You try to spread that energy out through the team. But for me, every day it's putting focus on the things that are working to make the things that may not be working as well start to
Mhm.
work better and wind up in the good column tomorrow and just count those numbers of things that go right each day. And that's what I do every day is I count how many things go right, and then I can make those tick marks in my journal and say, ooh, today I got 16, maybe tomorrow I'll get 17. Hopefully it's not 15, but 17 would be much better tomorrow, or at least 16. And keep that positive mindset to go straight forward and keep things going forward like we've been discussing. Don't let things hold you back
Right.
and keep taking those chances. Keep taking those swings. Wayne Gretzky once said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Keep taking those shots. One of them's going to hit. One of them's going to connect."
Right. Yeah, I do something, I call it expansions. I write down my expansions. It's the same principle, though. Some people
Okay.
call it wins,
Yeah.
right? And whatever it is for you, though, or whatever the best word is for you.
Definitely.
Now, let's briefly talk about unpopular decisions. What would be your go-to strategy or method when the easy path is not necessarily available and you have to communicate something that's not really popular to a team.
I think that's a lesson that many leaders have a hard time gripping, because
Mhm.
you're not always going to make everybody happy. No matter what you do in life, everyone is not going to be happy. You're going to have to make those tough decisions and maybe take that road less traveled to make a victory happen or expansion happen. You have to make those decisions and you have to own that decision. That's the thing. These decisions, these unpopular opinions, if you make that decision, have your opinion, your judgment in that situation, you have to own it. Have extreme ownership on that and push forward no matter what the outcome is after that decision. Own it. You did it, you own it, you take responsibility. And even if the mission or the operation doesn't work out, your team will have more respect for you because you made the decision and you owned up to it the entire time, from the beginning through the middle and at the final result. And usually, if it's a full success, as a leader, for me, I won't take the credit for it. I'll give it to my team. And if they want to give accolades, say, hey, it was him. No, it was you. You made this happen. I just had this crazy idea.
Right. And I would like to add something to that. So within that owning it, also giving yourself the permission to change course if it's really
Yes.
necessary and to admit that, okay, that's now necessary. And the second aspect I think that's always useful is to give the big picture, to explain why this is actually necessary. Right?
Yeah,
So
definitely paint the
why are we
picture.
doing this? The why always brings us together a little bit more and brings the motivation to everybody.
It definitely does. And most teams will buy in if you paint the big picture. You paint the big
Mhm.
picture for them to give them that why, the why behind
Mhm.
it. Everything starts with why, really. Like Simon Sinek said, it starts with
Mhm.
why, but you have to
Yeah.
portray that the entire time and the why. And sometimes your idea may not be the best idea in the room. You may have come up with this brilliant plan, but there might be a young person on your team that has a better way of making it happen. You might just have to sit back and listen to that person and say, that's a good idea. Let's do this.
Openness.
Yes.
Absolutely. Very important. So, when you say grit, we hear that so often, but I want to unpack that a little bit. How do you practically build it day by day, not just in crisis situations?
I think it's like you said, day by day, over time, you learn the things that you can get through. And it's not like going to the gym and pushing weight or running a marathon.
Mhm.
It's things that you put yourself to the test every day. Sometimes you don't even know you're putting yourself to these tests. You get up in the morning, you go to work, and there's a project. Oh, what am I going to do? I get in there and I dig into it, and today may not work. It may not be fulfilled today, but I kept pushing myself through it and getting these little calluses in my brain and my hands and thinking, all right, that worked, that didn't work. And you start building up the things that help you keep motivated to go forward. There was light in there. I pressed this button, the light turned on. The same thing with you. You wake up in the morning, the light comes on. You got to keep getting up every day and pushing forward to fulfill your destiny. Whatever it is, whatever you're on this earth to do, that's your destiny. Your purpose in life is to make sure that is fulfilled. You may not know what it is, you may not understand what it is, but you're building it up as you grow. Every day something you get a new lesson that builds that grit, that tenacity to go forward. And we all have it. Some you don't want to admit it sometimes you have that grit, you have that resilience in you because sometimes it's easier to get people to clamor to you and say, "Hey, I'll help you," or "You're doing well, you're doing well." Some people don't need that. Some people just wake up and they tell themselves, I'm going to beat today. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do this because yesterday I didn't give a full effort. But today I'm getting up and I'm working out. Last year I tore my quad muscle and I thought, man, this is the worst pain in my life. And I had been blown up in combat. I got wounded in combat and this hurt more just stepping over my dog. I tore my quad muscle. I said, how does this happen to me? Why me? Why now? And I had this woe is me attitude for a little bit and then I shook myself out of it and said, you've been through much worse. Get up and start moving. Start stretching that leg out. Go to physical therapy and make it stronger than it was before. And then you can get through everything. And that's how I built my grit through my life is through a lot of battle testing on my body and my mind, a lot on my mind. And then last year it all came to fruition when I tore my quad. And that just kind of woke me up again saying, hey, you're way better than you think you are. Just keep pushing forward and help others.
Yeah, so you're mentioning a little bit of toughness here, and I think a lot of people think resilience is about toughness, but you've also written about it in a more nuanced way, right?
Yes.
So can you give us an example of what that could look like too?
Oh, definitely. You can be resilient. You can without, I guess, punching a bag or being the Mr.
Mhm.
Tough Guy or Miss Tough Lady in the room. You can be resilient just doing things the right way and learning to make things work. Maybe without hurting yourself doing it, or maybe without putting in so much extra effort. Just doing things like we just talked about, the easy way. Maybe
Mhm.
learning a different way to do things. And that is resilient too, because you can't keep running into a wall and hoping that that wall will fall. You got to sometimes go through the doorway that's right there at the portal that tells you, hey, you can walk right through here without ramming your head into this wall. And there's so many other options here. Keep pushing forward. If you get up every day and you say, I got to go to work, while you have that job, look for the job that you get to go to and find that purpose that makes you wake up every morning. And that shows your resilience too. Mental resilience, it's like gymnastics, kind of. You have to keep being flexible and move forward. And you'll find that thing that you get to do every day. Maybe it's you starting your own company, and then you get to do that. Maybe it's starting your own podcast. You get to do that. You get to meet hundreds of people and talk to them about their stories, their transitions in life, and that's what you get to do. Once you get to wake up every morning and say, "I get to do this," your purpose, your resilience, and your grit all comes together in like this crazy triangle, and you move forward.
Right, and that reminds me that that project that you mentioned when you were answering the previous question, like that project that we all dread,
Yeah.
to me, that's paperwork.
Yeah. Yes.
So, so, but the worst part is always, the worst part about paperwork is always the avoiding part,
Yes.
the waiting to get started part because we don't want to do it. And then once I'm in it, I can actually sometimes find myself in the zone,
Yes.
which is surprising. Although then when I notice it, oh, that was weird. But also we can do this more intentionally because we can intentionally add the joy factor to those uh, activities. Like you said, you can change the wording around, okay, I gotta do this and reframe it to I get to do this. And there are many other ways we can do this with words. However, we can also do it by purposefully or intentionally choosing an emotion, a feeling as we do things. And sometimes, it might not be like the hyper joy, but if you could say, okay, maybe I just put a smile on my face and try out what that does, because also our gestures also change the way we feel, as we know. So there are many, many different ways we can manipulate ourselves a little bit. We manipulate ourselves and hypnotize ourselves all day long
Yes.
unconsciously. Why not do it more consciously, more
Exactly.
intentionally,
Yes.
right? So I have so many more questions for you, but I want to pick the best
Okay.
ones. um, we we often admire leaders who stay composed under pressure. So, is there something that you could still share with us that most people would never guess goes through a leader's mind in those moments?
Oh, that's a brilliant question because you can see on the world stage right now. You can see leaders that do not keep it in. They do not keep their emotions in. They let little things get to them. As a leader, you have to understand every action or emotion you emit creates an action and emotion within your people and those you're leading. So you have to learn. And as a young leader, I did not do this well. I would get over emotional. I'd get angry really quick, and I'd go off the handle and do things that probably in today's day and age would just put me to the side and would have got me put out of the military. Now, I have learned probably halfway through my career, I learned that that doesn't work for everybody. You have to keep all that in check and just learn how to respond to each person, and then as an overall thing, how to respond. on December 31st, 2010, I could have went totally ballistic, but I decided to bottle all that into me and show them compassion, show them that we can get through this together. There's no reason for us to be angry. We're in a situation that we didn't start this, but we're here for each other and we have to get through this. And you can do the same thing anywhere you're a leader. Something goes wrong, you can't go off the handle. You have to keep bottle up the emotion a little bit, think about what's going on, and react in a way that's calm, kind of cool, and collective. And it gets the greater good. You're motivating people more by staying calm than you are by going off the handle or going like Tasmanian devil nuts. You have to stay focused on what your overall objective is. Is your objective to just berate your people or be angry and just be that angry voice? Or is your objective to be successful? It's to be successful. So you have to stay calm in those situations, understand your people and their emotions, and meet them where they are so that all of you get to that finish line together.
Right. And I have to smile a little bit because you said on the world stage, and it really is a stage. So it's a big theater play. So a lot of it is manipulative anyway. It's not necessarily even being out of control. I think some of it is very, 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 very uh, yeah, planned, and
Theatrics.
very calculated.
Yes.
So, but and we don't want to be like that as
No.
leaders. We want to be authentic. We want to be people who connect others and who connect to others, and that's what we people like Rich, like people like my guests and me, and probably a lot of our listeners want to achieve. So that's
Yes.
how we want to be, right? Now, I have one last question for you. I'm gonna pick one.
All right.
So, you've worked with diverse teams and high stakes environments, right? Can you give an example of a surprising moment where listening or understanding someone completely changed the outcome? Or maybe it was somebody you mentored who changed that behavior in themselves, where they started to listen more, started to really make an effort to understand others and to bring that compassion to the game.
Well, that's a great question. And just having had the opportunity to be led and to lead for as long as I have, there's so many people that I've seen make those adjustments in their lives. In my book, Out of the Darkness, I kind of meld a lot of them together to make one character. And I think one that really stands out, I had a young sergeant who was really down on himself. He had gotten a bad write-up before I got there, and he thought he would never go anywhere because of that one write-up. And all I did every day was preach that positivity to him and show him the things he was doing, the things he was doing great. And for the next year and a half when I had him with me, that's all I did was show him how great he was and how great he could be. And now we're 10, 14 years later now, and he's achieved a higher rank than I did. He is doing great things, and he is now looking back on those days and sharing that story with the soldiers he's leading now and those he's able to mentor and learn and teach them things so they can learn and grow to be better than him. And every day I hear him or talk to him, I just smile because knowing where me and him met, where I met him where he was, and to where he is today, that little bit of positivity and positive reinforcement to show him that he is better than a write-up. That write-up doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. And what he did next showed the world that he is a way better person, a better leader, better mentor, teacher, and a father. So he's doing great things.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that story. And last but not least, where can people find you? Where can they find your podcast? And of course, I'm also adding all the links to the show notes that you gave me.
Okay, awesome. TheMisfitNation.com is the best place to get everything about me and the show. The first page you come to is all the audio links, and then I think the next tab is the video, and then our books are on there, and of course how to gauge us for speaking and such like that. So everything, it's one-stop shop, and contact us. Our bios are on there, And if you get on the contact button on there and reach out to us, I get that email and usually respond within a couple hours. And it's usually pretty fruitful conversations if we're going in the right direction.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, Rich, for coming on today with us. And to all listeners, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Tune in again next time. Thank you, Rich, for sharing your rich insights.
No problem. Thank you.
Are you ready to create real change in your leadership, your career, your life? Join me for a complimentary Lead and Thrive session, a 60-minute one-on-one strategy session where we will discuss your specific needs and map out the next steps to lead yourself and others powerfully. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Visit transformyourperformance.com/Lead Thrive session to book your Lead and Thrive session today. Let's work together to make it happen. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, share it, and join us next time.